Hi there, my name's Tiana Gordon, and I'm the production designer from It's a Wonderful Knife, and you're watching Craven Something Scary.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, patrons, and of course, my channel members, otherwise known as my Cravenites. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Well, are you ready to close out this? Gosh, it's hard to even say it. Close out the year 2023 with an amazing live stream. Well, I sure am. And guess what? You're already on it. That's right. This is something I have been excited about, guys, for, oh my gosh, since it was set up literally weeks ago. And this is not always easy to do. When coordinating schedules with folks that are very busy, and being able to find that sweet spot, right? It's not always an easy thing to do, or maybe it's rarely easy from my experience. But you know what? When you have individuals that are passionate about their work and their craft and passionate about sharing it with their fans, things come together. And guys, it's come together for tonight. And I'm very excited. I've had these two guests that I've been sharing with you. We've been talking about here on my live streams for ages now, and we, talking about it. They've been on this channel, the channel before. I've had the pleasure of meeting them individually, and you guys had the chance to thus meet them as well here through the channel. And and there's going to be a couple of surprises that I have not shared, only with just a very select few people know that what's cooking. So stay tuned. You don't want, trust me, you want to be here for the entire stream. That's all I can tell you right now. Plus, you're going to want to watch this movie. If you haven't seen it, you picked the perfect night to watch it. If you have seen it, you've picked the perfect night to rewatch it. All right. So my guests tonight are just they're incredible individuals. I had such a pleasure meeting them, and have been looking forward to this night for them to return. Couple of housekeeping notes I want to mention before I bring them on. You see at the bottom of your screen, you have the ability to submit questions or comments for my guests tonight. And that's also a rare opportunity for you to have direct access to these incredibly talented people. And so I encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity of them coming to give of their time, and because they love the fans, they love you guys. And so take advantage of that opportunity. Now, I will also say this, that in a situation like this with multiple guests, a watch party, multiple, large attendance in the live stream, it's not going to happen that I get to everyone's questions. Okay. We're going to do my very best, but I know up front, I've done this a few times, and I know that it's probably not possible to get to everyone. So if your question is not addressed, don't be upset or offended by it. Just understand it's just the nature of things with time and everything that's going on. However, I always want to provide you an avenue that if you do have that burning question that you just want answered, you really want to know about a scene or about a particular performance or what have you, you can do that. You can send a super chat in, and I promise you this, every super chat moves ahead of everyone else, and I will make sure that we get that addressed with the panel before the stream ends, okay? So you have that avenue if you choose to do so. Not only does it help you and you get that opportunity, but it also helps the channel with your support. So it's a win-win for everybody. All right, so that's out there, got it out there. And I think that's everything other than just this. Here is the watch party link to Amazon. If you want to be on the same time code that I will be on, you can join there, and I will control the play for you. Just sit back and you can do that. Otherwise, you can watch it on your other streaming platforms. Not a problem. I will do a countdown for the movie. Also, be sure that you have your subtitles turned on, everyone, okay? Because this is a commentary live stream. So, my guests, the point of them being here is to not just watch a movie with us, which is their movie with us, which is great, but they're going to also provide comments and commentary as we watch scenes. And it's going to be really special, okay? So, just turn on your subtitles so you never have to worry about missing like what the screen is happening on screen, but you can also hear what's being talked about. Okay. All right. Also, just want to thank my moderators. Last thing, I promise. Thank you, moderators. Sarah, Val, Jen, Denisha. Thank you, all of my moderators that are here in the chat helping to put links up as you'll be seeing them come up across for social media for each of my guests. And be sure if you see an Instagram or Twitter or X, go and follow them. All right. Go and follow them. Trust me, you want to stay in the loop with what's going on because you just never know when we may get the word of a sequel greenlit, hello, or some other project they're working on. You just never know. All right. It can happen in any day. So do me a favor and follow them. Let's show them some support as well. All right. Okay, guys, without further ado, this is going to be so much fun. I'm going to bring on my first guest and then my second guest. Both of them are here. So please welcome, first of all, the director. That's right, the director of It's a Wonderful Knife, the talented and amazingly friendly gentleman. Please welcome Tyler Macintyre. What's up, Tyler?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me. And I don't know if I've ever been called amazingly friendly, but I appreciate that.
That's been my experience, man.
Well,
I guess I should also disclaim I'm still fighting a cough.
hey,
So, sorry about that.
hey, yeah, it's okay. It's a virtual watch party. It's totally fine. We're all safe.
That's true. And I'm living on these cough drops. Let me tell you, these things here. Whew. But I will try to mute my mic in time so I don't blow anybody's ears out.
Hey, that was well timed. I was pretty impressed.
I tell you, I got to my fingers on the trigger of my mouse constantly. So, but thank you, Tyler. Seriously, man. Appreciate you coming back.
Of course, glad to be here.
All right, man. And we have another guest who you guys have met here on the channel as well. And they are an incredibly talented individual as well. And again, just such a joy. I had such a good time meeting them the first time they were here. Please welcome, again, the very talented, and if you've seen the movie, you already know the talent level of my guest. Please welcome Tiana P. Gordon. What's up, Tiana?
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
So great to have you back. And how does it feel for you guys to be together on the panel this time?
Pretty cool.
It seems easier. It's good to have another person there, another brain in the mix, and just like the movie itself, it was so much better because Tiana was on it.
Oh, no, it's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a bit since the premiere, though. It's not too bad. It's 2 months, two and a half months.
2 months. That's okay.
So awesome. Everyone is very, very happy to see you. They're all giving their welcome as well, and thanks for you being here. And we all appreciate it. It really means a lot to me and the audience tonight.
Oh, yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, this is going to be such a good time. So, real quick, before we start, I just want to acknowledge a couple of folks. We do have a channel membership anniversary, and one of my moderators, Sarah Campbell, has been a member of this channel every month, supporting it for 16 months. It's almost a year and a half. Sarah, thank you for your faithfulness. It makes a huge difference for the channel, helping to keep the lights on. Says, so happy to be a part of this amazing community. What a wonderful, see what I did there? The 16 months I've had with all of you. Much appreciated. Thank you, Sarah. I can't even begin to describe how much you mean to me and the channel and this community. And one of our newer channel members, guys, Russell, you know we love Russell. What's up, man? 2 months now. All right. 2 months now as a member. Love y'all, horror fan. Be safe, be healthy. God bless, and God willing, we'll be back for the stream next time. Hey, that's right. That's okay, Russell. We're going to watch the replay. I was talking to Tyler about that a little bit earlier. No worries. That's what the replay is for, and you can queue it up and watch it and leave your comments. So it's all good, brother. Thanks for your support. Okay. All right, guys. So shall we? You guys ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this thing. So everybody at home, get ready. Have the movie pulled up and backed up to 0000, and subtitles turned on. Double check that. I highly encourage it. You don't have to, but I do highly encourage that. Okay. And let me go here into my watch party for everyone. I see there's a few folks that have joined it. Great. Good. Okay. And I will do a countdown from 5. So I'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'll say go. So when I say go, that's when you want to hit play. All right. We should be pretty close to each other. Okay. All right. Here we go. It's a wonderful night. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right. I'm at 3, 4, 5, 6. Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. RLJE, our intrepid distributor for the theatrical here.
Divide, conquer. You guys see that?
Yeah. That's our editor, Art P. Miller, made that a candy cane and on the first cut, and we all thought that was really fun. So it kind of lasted a long time.
Love it.
Do you want to, Tiana? Do you want to talk about like designing this whole water look here?
Water's Cove. Yeah. I mean, I think what we talked about, conceptualizing that was kind of just gaudy and over the top, almost a little like campy casino vibes, like poorly done, but looks very expensive. But don't look too closely at it,
Yeah, it was like I remember we wanted like a mix between like Bifco and like like an outlet mall or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, and this is Cloverdale. Like, is this kind of near where you're from though? Like right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty close. Yeah, it's probably about 20, 30 minutes. And that our angel tree topper, there's a quick shot of it, but our costume designer actually made a miniature scaled down version of the actual costume, which was pretty cool for us. So thank you,
Mattea. Man, we should have stole that or put on top of my tree this year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wonder where that ended up.
Yeah, it was actually. I don't know if we can't share. Are we allowed to share like images here? Is that something?
Oh yeah, if you want to email it to me, or I can upload it.
Yeah, we've got some stuff from like we went through like a bunch of designs because when you're trying to make like a slasher movie, one of the biggest concerns between like Tiana and Matteo and myself, Matteo's the costume designer, was that we're trying to figure out like how you make a unique kind of slasher killer.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of settled on this kind of angel design, and we went and I realized like I haven't really shared any of the concept art or anything like that, and there's a couple like kind of ones that are kind of fun to might be worth kind of throwing in the chat here.
Yeah, I'd sent over like the concept art that Francis did.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
Yeah.
Or has that already been?
Yeah, but that's okay. I think I still have that under my folder. I think I can get that right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyways, it might be worth kind of throwing out there. But this is this scene right here. I think was probably like shot like 4 a.m. or something like that. Yeah. And it's like our so something that's kind of weird about this movie is that it's all night shoots. Like it's 80% of the movie takes place at night. So like every day we were starting at like 7 or 8 p.m. and then shooting like all through the night until essentially became sunrise. And so every day we were trying to like race the sun to come into the and people were pretty like worn down by just the whole experience. But there's very, very few scenes like during the day, and we tried to cheat a little bit, but you can't really get away with it too much. And here it's like we have like all these extras out there and all the Christmas lights and everything working overnight. So it's a bit difficult to get all that keep people kind of the energy up and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
I could imagine.
by like the second week of nights, I think everybody was kind of starting to feel it, but eventually you sort of like hit a point where it becomes this weird normal.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
get kind of loopy, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
and it's kind of a horror comedy, so it's all right, and people are a little freaked out anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
I know Sean in particular, Sean Deppner, who plays Buck, was very, I think, he kind of benefited from it. He was a little bit crazier in the middle of the night.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if we have any X-Files fans in the house, but this is William B. Davis here on the left.
The smoking man.
Yeah, the cigarette smoking man.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And so, but it was fun. I know, Joel was such a huge fan of his. He was really excited about this day, and he came in and just still got it. He's 85. Came out of retirement to kind of do this, and it was pretty fun to have a genre legend, in the mix.
Yeah,
Very cool.
he was great. I mean, he nails his performance. It's great.
Yeah, how was this? It's a pretty classic. Like during this part of the film, we're pretty much hitting like the really hard, like Hallmark stuff, or like kind of like the very classic kind of Christmas look.
Yeah.
I know we talked a bit about that, like the idea of this being sort of like a darker version of like a Hallmark movie, to a certain extent, but then kind of takes it to this kind of weird place in the middle of it.
Yeah,
this is probably some of our most Hallmarky stuff.
Yes. This
a
and like
couple scenes.
this in the Carruthers house, and I think it was so much fun to play with that like contrast, because it really, you feel it when it switches, when we'll see it later on. But yeah, that like hyper Christmas to, just cold. And I think when it, at the end, I think you realize that contrast even more. I've found as I've watched it a couple times.
Well, you did a great job, Tiana, as well. With, how the whole feel of the atmosphere, just the lighting, the tint, the whole, it just feels darker once she asked the question. Let's say that.
Yeah. And I mean, kudos to Nick for that, because it was a huge like collaborative process, and it was like the design and lighting of it were so like interwoven, and Nick was just such a great collaborator throughout, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, it might be worth mentioning that this is Hannah Huggins, who plays Kara here. Is like her first scene in a movie ever. It's like her first day on set, on a feature film set. I think she's a film student in British Columbia, but kind of auditioned for this and did a really good job. And anyway, was really excited and very confused by Justin Long's teeth, as we all were.
Oh, I love Justin Long. Everyone did an amazing job. It just something about Justin Long. You guys did a great job getting him. That was he's the perfect mayor. He's the perfect. He's just perfect.
Yeah, and he's having so much fun too. Like I think he likes to pick parts where he can kind of cut loose a little bit, and this was definitely one of those. So we were kind of the story can kind of support him being a bit of a more outlandish kind of villain, and and this is another one of those kind of like, this is probably the I mentioned the Hallmarkiness, but this is probably the most Hallmarky of scenes, and it's like it was a bit cathartic, I think, for some of the crew, because in Vancouver a lot of the crew either comes up on through like CW shows, like a lot of like like Supergirl, The Flash, like those sorts of films or those sorts of television shows, or they come up through like movies of the week, like Lifetime and Hallmark, like Christmas movies. And so it was kind of fun to do something that had like some of those same tricks, but then like used in a very different way narratively. And so like, especially like the locations people, when they were like, no, we could show you this set that's been in the town square in 1,000 Hallmark movies, and we can, you can use it as a horrific place where people get stabbed. And it was kind of a fun, sort of spin to do for them, because I think they got a little Christmased out over the years.
Oh yeah,
I bet.
The art department, especially, like it was one of my like kind of stipulations of like the crew that I wanted to have. I was like, I need the Hallmark people, because they know Christmas. So having them like be able to do something still Christmas, like in their wheelhouse, but also get to do this whole other genre was they just had a great time.
Oh,
Tiana, do you want to explain this llama there? Or?
Oh, that llama. John just pulled it out of storage actually the other day at the office. But yeah, that was our last day of shooting. And yeah, it was probably like 8 o'clock out in Langley, like deep, deep Langley in the Fraser Valley. And Tyler very politely asked if we had any other Christmas deck that we could put behind the car so that it would have a little reveal. And it's our last day of shoot. The truck was, we'd seen everything.
We'd shot every single
like every ornament we had.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just ran out to Canadian Tire, who still had Christmas stuff apparently like deep in their back warehouse in April, and bought the llama. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I love that llama. I was really hoping to get it, but it's gone to another home, I've heard.
Oh, fuck yeah, Christmas. That's Oscar, who plays Eddie, was really excited about doing that whole thing, and had to be, because it was 6 a.m. when we shot that. But yeah, this was a bit of a pivot. Like you had to throw this whole set together in like, I don't know, like an afternoon or something like that, because we learned the day before that it was gonna be like a torrential downpour, and it's supposed to be like winter outside. And so we didn't want to make people shoot outside in the middle of the in like relatively cold, wet conditions, and instead we decided to kind of set it inside and have this sort of more of an ad hoc rec center kind of look to it. But you pretty much figured this whole thing out while I was kind of trying to pivot the shot list.
Yeah, it was I mean, we heard about this like crazy sort of atmospheric river rain thing that was going to happen, and it went from, originally it was like a Christmas maze, and then it was like a park party, and we had the gazebo, and had actually already like fully dressed this gazebo with all the Christmas lights and everything, and then the rain started, and we're like, okay, yeah, no. So we brought it all inside, and luckily this gorgeous little like rec center was at the location, and we're just like, okay, teenagers, they've like broken into this rec center. It's maybe like a pre-planned party, and they're just having a good time. There's alcohol, there's Christmas lights that they've kind of like set up sort of themselves, pretty janky. And yeah, it's not necessarily an approved party, but they're having a good time.
Yeah. And I mean, we, like people sometimes bring up that they're like all a little bit like squeaky clean or something, but that was kind of the point. Like they're kind of like supposed to be a bit on that like I like to call the gee whiz side, where it's like these are the good kids, like they look like they fell off an Archie comic, like, and that's like part of the fun of it is like, then you can kind of terrorize them. Whereas if they were like, super edgy and realistic, then it would be less of a drop when you start putting the horror stuff in, was my thinking.
True. Yeah.
But I like this moment with Jess and Jane kind of seeing each other across the room here. That's one of my favorite moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that little look that Jess gives, it's just so sweet and like heartbreaking. I love it.
Yes. A little foreshadowing too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is they're like staring off at it. We shot that in California, like when we were editing the movie.
Okay. Love it.
A lot of little pickups like that are the kind of, I don't think people really notice, but especially the angel costume, people were in and out of that all the time. Like there's a shot where Michael's wearing it, there's a shot where Nick's wearing it, there's a shot where Arndt is wearing it. Everyone had their kick at the can. So Tiana, we should got you in the angel costume at some point. You could stab somebody.
Oh, I know. I'm still waiting on a knife. I want to get a knife so badly.
Oh, yes. You deserve a knife, Tiana.
Yeah. Well, that's your design, right? Do you want to talk to me a bit about that? Like you pretty much, because my thinking of it is we were going to call a movie "It's a Wonderful Knife." We better have a somewhat unique looking knife. And so, Tiana, you pretty much like sketched that out, and it's been like the center of all of the marketing and everything.
Which is pretty crazy. Like when the first time I saw it on a poster, it was like, I was kind of in disbelief, and just to be able to like see something, because I had pages and pages of sketches, probably like 3 pages of tiny little, like very slightly different knife iterations, and we knew we wanted some angel motifs in there, so the wings subtly, and it changed a lot. And with the little circle, I can't remember the actual part of the knife that's called, but the circle on the end was supposed to kind of represent a halo. And to look like something that this potentially like very rich killer, like he's the mayor of the town, could have maybe had like hanging on his wall as a decoration that he's decided now to kill people with. And
I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm seeing in the chat here that like someone asked, like, or Jen asked, how did the angel see and breathe? He didn't really. You know, in all honesty, we had this idea of like, as you can see, these kind of you know, preliminary sketches. We thought it was creepiest that he had like no features, and so we ended up, you know, you can see that that shot where he's kind of looking in and kind of recognizes Winnie there.
Yeah.
We thought it was very creepy to have a featureless mask, and we were talking about things like you know, Dick Tracy, and there's like the character in the blank, you know, like and things like that, or like you know, like Spider Gwen, like, you know, those sorts of like kind of hooded white characters, and you know, there's something kind of fun about having a completely blank, expressionless white mask, and but there's not a great material to do that with, you know, like if it would actually been easier if it was like a mirror or something, which we talked about, because it, you know, there's glass that's like kind of like one-way reflective glass, but there's not really a good opaque surface that does that. So what we decided on was kind of what is in the movie, which is that you know, we have like essentially a plastic kind of vacuum formed mask that's shiny on the outside and then painted white on the inside, and then less paint around the eyes so that they can see through it because the paint layer is pretty thin. So if you have your eyes up close, you can see through, but it only works in really bright conditions. So and with the movie being 80% at night, you really just couldn't see much out of it. And so that's a kind of an earlier version of the costume before we figured out the belts and pleating and stuff like that. That's like a rough costume fitting. But the yeah, essentially he could breathe. Like that wasn't so much an issue. It was more just the visibility of it. And
Yeah.
our stuntman did a very good job with it.
Yeah, and no complaints either. We ended up with, I think, like 3 or 4 versions of like visibility levels of the mask, and we had like one that you can pretty clearly like see where the eye holes are, and even that was still not the best to see out of, but it was better than, you know, the ones that we use for like the close-ups where it's like pretty completely reflective.
Yeah, so we had this version of it that had the eye holes not cut out but like just not painted, and so we then visual effected them out. Whereas like something like this where he doesn't have to move, where we're sort of tracking up the body here, like Justin is wearing one that's just completely painted on the inside that's looking the best it would, you know. But they're all done from the same vacuum form thing, so it matches pretty easily.
Yeah. And I find this shot here funny because these two, where Winnie's looking and then we look at Justin, those 2 shots filmed completely different days, like different weeks, different locations.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
this is probably our most cobbled together sequence because there's like on the day and then like pickups later on and then like pieces from California and then like stuff on the front lawn of another set. You know, it's all over the place.
Amazing. Yeah, you would never guess that. That is incredible. It looks like it's literally right there. I mean, it's just amazing what you guys can do and pull off. It's wow.
Yeah, we're you know, it's this is some of the most fun stuff to film because like there's like, you know, usually you're spending a lot of time kind of get lighting right and things like that, whereas we were trying to riff on like regional commercials that have like a little bit less care kind of thing. Like we use like a camera and they can be a bit sillier, and Matea found those hilariously dumb suits that were matching, and they, and I think Aiden and Joel were just having a fun time, you know, goofing around.
I don't think I've ever seen actors have so much fun shooting a scene. Like I was kind of running around and like sort of seeing what was happening, but all I could hear was laughter and like everybody's just having a great time. And this email, Tyler, you sent me the copy for, and if you like were to pause it and read the whole thing, it's brutal.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's funny because like on the so no one knows this yet, but we recorded like Michael, who's the screenwriter, and I recorded like an audio commentary, and he was like, "Who wrote this?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably Tiana." Like,
yeah.
If it's
like your application was like,
yeah, your application was nowhere near satisfactory. So I went back and read it, and I was like, "Did I write this? I don't think so." I assume you did, but or Matt, because like no one got more jokes in this movie than our set deck.
He had a very good time. Yeah, you should really like pause and like look at all the graffiti in Angel Falls, and there's some fun Easter eggs in there.
Oh, no doubt. That's something I want to do. I got to do that.
And this was actually the first scene we filmed here, not the first shot, like the shot upstairs with the kind of going over the banister, but this is the first scene. So it seemed like at this point we were doing just a, you know, normal Christmas movie, except for one of them hated it, which was sort of appropriate. And those are not real mountains in the background there, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, well, you can see the mountains in Vancouver are actually the other direction. So
Okay.
we had to add our own mountains.
Wow. Incredible. Man.
Yeah, it was a whole debate of whether we I think we looked at Squamish for a little while because you can actually really see the mountains. Like the mountains look like that in Squamish, but it's also a very far drive, or it's about an hour outside of Vancouver. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an hour up a really windy, kind of unsafe road. So we were not. I mean, we all wanted to go to Squamish because it's lovely, but shooting in Squamish might not have been the best. But Angel Falls, the geography doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. There's like, you've got the mountains, you got the small town, and then you've got this weird sort of dock situation. And so it was a place that didn't really exist anyway. So we always knew it was going to be a bit cobbled together from different actual places. And
Well,
a lot of the wide shots are from like Park City, I think, in Utah. So
yeah, we're talking about those aerial shots.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I just gotta tell you, as a fan watching it, it works. I think, I mean, honestly, it looks fantastic. So you did a heck of a job putting all that together in a very believable fashion. Because I never would have ever guessed any of that. I really. So kudos.
I think a lot comes down to it is like Tyler is just so experienced as an editor, and it was something that, like, even working together throughout the film, you just had such a clear idea of like the shots that you needed and how it was going to cut together, and it was you just seemed to have a plan the whole time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad it seemed that way. That's great. No, I mean, I don't know. I try and keep things, it's one of those, like it's very easy to fixate on the details, I find. And filmmaking is when you're kind of putting something together in a, like two shots together, there's this sort of saying of like, shot A and shot B actually give you feeling C, and so you really have to keep that in mind, because it's not really about the unless it's a scene where it's just one shot, you often are kind of creating moments that don't really exist anywhere. And so I try to always keep that in mind. And just, having edited so much stuff in the past, it was a little bit easier to kind of, know what we needed to shoot. And we didn't have time to shoot anything else. So, we were trying to always kind of keep things pretty, moving pretty, like even something like this, like it's a simple, like one shot, thing that's like but it reads as a scene. And you just got to be, like you can get away with one shot if it's the right shot. Whereas something like this, like, like there's choices that are made, like Winnie's closer to the camera with a wider lens because we want to be more with her, but whereas her family is, we're farther away from them and shooting them with longer lenses because we're kind of pushing them about the separation between them. So it's like little things like that are just, not particularly complex choices, but can, they add up in terms of like what you're digesting.
Absolutely. And can I just ask real quick? I noticed you guys did not blank out the GMC logo.
No, that was product placement. We were.
I figured.
Thank you, GMC.
Yes, GMC wanted to be in this movie. Yes,
and that's why it looks like Nick's trying to sell that car. It's very, like that. That's the, and weirdly, Joel owns that same truck. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think he was given it for like product placement reasons, but like I think he just owned it for some other reason. And so he knew everything about it, which was kind of funny. That's why he has all these tidbits about like its stats. And
that's hilarious.
Rambling about like how cool it is.
There you go.
Exactly. And that big bow is ridiculous.
Oh, that bow.
And I like Cassandra in the background there, just being like, "Oh God."
One of my favorite lines in the movie is in that scene about the lesbian tracksuit.
Right.
And she says, "Oh, we would never wear something like that." That every time that just kills me.
Yeah.
I like it's these two Katie and Cassandra, who play the ants here, are two actors that I really love and like wish we had a little bit more material for. I mean they're great in the movie and obviously do a lot with what they have, but it's just like they're like, check out some of their other work if you guys, if you're already horror fans. I don't know if anyone else has seen. I mean, it's a horror channel, so but if you haven't seen it, check out Influencer on Shudder. That's like another great original horror movie, also a Canadian director. But Cassandra's like one of the lead characters in it, and is just amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's really new.
Okay.
The big breakout movies for the platform this year, and then obviously Catherine Isabel has been, in Ginger Snaps and like American Mary and like a lot of those kind of classics like Freddy versus Jason and stuff like that. So we were very, very happy to get her.
Oh yeah.
And in the background of that shot, we managed to get in this. There's a video game there called Christmas Carnage. It's like made by Flying Lotus, who's like he's like a musician and artist. And so we worked together on VHS 99, and he sort of lent us the game to have people playing in the background, because it's like this Christmas themed slasher game where you're walking around and Santa Claus is trying to kill you. Anyway, check it out if you're anyone down here's a gamer.
Yeah, it was very fun to like sift through the playback for that and just like watch this game be played through. I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah, and it was like kind of a prototype version of it. Like I don't think the game is out by this point, but it's it's a fun Christmas game. My wife played through it last year, so.
Wow,
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But,
the set was one of the probably my favorite sets to like design, especially this basement in particular, because it's so vastly different than the rest of the architecture of the house.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun. And then to be able to like
70s or something down there.
Yeah, I think they had like redid the rest of the house except for the basement. And I mean, I wish the whole house looked like the basement does, but that's okay. But yeah, it just gave us like such nice texture, and it had like such great elements, just like the columns and the wood paneling, the wallpaper. Really felt like a basement that teenagers would be partying in. And then to go in and wreck it all and distress it all was so satisfying.
That's so cool.
So is this like the parties that you were at when you were a teenager, Tiana, or is it? Or
I don't know if I went to enough parties as a teenager to say.
Yeah. We were. I grew up in rural Alberta, so it was a bit more of like woodsy and barns and stuff. But I guess there's some basement parties that were a bit like this. Or they were more like the meth parties, maybe, like, which we'll see in a minute here.
Yeah. I think ours were more out in a field somewhere, random.
Hey guys, we got a knock at the door. We have a surprise guest joining the stream. So everybody get ready. You didn't know this was coming. Tiana, or Tyler, I guess I should give you the pleasure of introducing our next guest here, who I'll put on the screen. I'll say his name so that he won't be totally blind. So here we go. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, a very key individual in the making of this film. It is Nick.
Hey,
Tyler, go ahead, please.
This is our illustrious cinematographer, Nicholas Piotnik, who is our partner in crime for figuring out the look and was behind the camera for every single one of these shots. He's from Texas. We need to dig into that. But he is parachuting in here after just arriving in a hotel room.
Oh, Nick,
like $1 million.
Nick, thank you so much for making the time to literally just run to your room and log in. That means a whole lot, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Nick.
Hey, thanks. You hear me all right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, great. Good to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
What are you guys
talking about? We're just we're fielding some questions here. I see one came in about what Joel McHale was like on set, and what was the inspiration for the costume. Joel McHale was great. He was actually awesome. He's he shot like very kind of early in the schedule, like the first quarter of the movie, and we kind of clustered his stuff together. But he it's interesting because I sort of grew up seeing some of his comedy early on, and then when I was moved down to LA, he sort of broke out with Community and stuff like that. So I was kind of a big fan of his. But he comes off as a bit of a prick, like in those shows, because he's so like sharp and stuff like that. And so you're not really sure what to expect. But the real Joel McHale is just as quick, but just such a sweetheart. And it's and so he was awesome and set a really great example. Like worked very hard, very trusting of us. Really understood the tone of the movie and was really showed up like super prepared and like had a million ideas and set a great example for especially a lot of the younger cast who's like may or may not have as much experience. And so it was really cool to see like how committed he was. And then that it made things very, very easy for me. And he, it was kind of fun to play him as like, like a kind of a Hallmark dad and then, see kind of more of a little more of a, with kind of a more malevolent kind of way. And that was, a lot of fun. And he was kind of all for it. And then the costumes, that was a bit of a collaboration between Matea and Tiana and I, and we definitely wanted kind of warmer colors, for the kind of regular world, and then everyone's kind of clean, and then here everyone's kind of much cooler colors like blues and kind of whites, and then things are a little more distressed in this world, and Winnie's kind of has this kind of orange color that no one really has as well, and so that she kind of bridges both worlds a little bit. But yeah, Nick, how was the developing the look for you? Like, this was, we've worked together a couple times, but how was working with the Vancouver crew to get this off the ground?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we talked and we had discussed some stuff and emails and sat down, and I felt like we were pretty much on the right track. And then when I got to Vancouver and I walked into Tiana's office, there was a big wall, the whole wall that was just kind of like stages, and it was basically everything we had talked about, but 10 times deeper. So I kind of just threw all my notes in the trash and copied hers and started from there. She was already a step ahead or on the same track, just one step ahead of me. It was great. Yeah, I don't know. That whole thing kind of just came to it all just kind of like took off, no problems really. I don't know, like.
Yeah,
right?
It felt like we were all very much like on the same page about like the look and how it was going to change and evolve throughout the film. And even I remember one of the things that like stuck out to me from like the very first like time we spoke, Tyler, was like I had this idea of like the through lines through these different realities, and like Winnie's coat even being one of them, how it's red in both worlds. It's one of the only things in this reality that is red and or has a warm color. And yeah, it was like we all just kind of agreed on it, and we were like, yeah, no, this makes sense. And it was really nice and like refreshing as like a collaborator to just have everybody on the same page. And those mood boards were apparently a hit. Everybody, I remember Seth was talking about them too. I felt a lot of pressure from those mood boards.
Yeah, and there's something that might be worth mentioning is that like we got to prep this movie together, even though it was still we shot this under COVID restrictions. But we were able to like the three of us were able to prep in the same buildings, and actually got COVID while we were prepping. And then Nick and I were staying together, so we'd like I would stay in the room and we'd open the door to the backyard and we'd yell at each other.
Oh wow!
I would just sit on the deck and talk to him through a window.
Man, that's commitment, man. Let me tell you.
But yeah, like
in the snow, in the rain.
Oh,
we'd have relatively like, but I don't know. We got to prep this like somewhat traditionally, and it would have been a while since I prepped a movie like that because we all got to be in the same place, and that's not always the case these days. There's a lot of stuff that's remote. And so it's great to be able to kind of just like wander down to the art department and just be like, no, we should do this. And then like kind of talk it through.
Yeah, it was so nice. And that was for me, my first like real experience of being in office for like a feature prep, because I started in film like right kind of in the thick of COVID. So it was, just a refreshing process, and it was so much easier than the remote thing. And I don't love remote work anymore just because of how great like Knife was to work on.
And I like this set actually, which is weird because like the whole thing is it's very stripped down, but like like the one set is like completely decked out Christmas, where there's like garland everywhere, there's lights everywhere, and this one's just like there's a pizza box on the ground and that's it. Like it's just
it's like, so dry. It's so dry.
Yeah, well, because it's more about like like that under you guys like was that under like cabinet lighting? Like you guys made some choices that were kind of like all these kind of pockets of kind of like blue light, and then just everything just falls down. How was that? I know you pulled some like look like Gone Girl or something like that, like were some of the references, but it ended up kind of being like not so much more the day stuff, but a bit of that like just like underlit kind of suburban.
Are you guys watching it? I'm sorry, I'm still catching up.
Oh yeah. We're we're in that. Yeah, we're in the scene right now where Jane first, where Winnie first arrives back to the Carruthers house after she makes the wish, and her family's Jimmy's dead, and her family doesn't know who she is.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So-
I'm still getting all queued up.
No, you're good, Nick. I'm going to put a link in the private chat. For the watch party, if you want to watch it there, you can. If not, I can give you a timestamp whenever you're ready, and that'll get you current.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds and I'll have that timestamp ready.
Great.
Okay.
John, I see a question showing up. What were some of the most unexpected challenges you came across while filming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unexpected challenges. I keep coming back to that tree. It kept me up at night for weeks.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, like Tiana, so in the middle of town square, it was like the beginning of the movie is like this tree lighting ceremony, and we also have it come back at the end. And so we wanted to have a very traditional, like town square, like big button, like tree
This
lighting
tree right
around this goddamn tree. And that tree doesn't exist, but there is a very small tree. And so, but we were like, we couldn't dig the tree up. Yeah, we couldn't dig the actual tree up, and it wasn't big enough to be this town's like tree. And so you came up with this brilliant idea of building a tree around it that was hollow.
We found it actually. My favorite rental house in Vancouver called Legends. They had just gotten this tree in, and it was from somebody, I want to say like a band member of Nickelback. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's what it was. And they had donated this tree because they didn't use it anymore. And it was basically like 2 sections that were hollow that just sort of like fit together. Yeah. And we built it around this tree. We had the city take out the bushes for us. All these pieces and all the boughs fit into it. And it was horrendous conditions when we were putting it up, and it took like 2 days. And yeah, it was a lot. This tree made me lose a lot of sleep.
I think we might have drawn up like 6 different schematics of how we were going to erect it.
Because for a while we weren't going to take out the bushes, and we were just going to like build a platform on top of the bushes, and then that became too precarious. Like it was like wind and weather and just securing it and everything. And it just became a bit of a thing. So we decided to try to keep it simple and not elevate it off the ground.
Yeah, so inside of this tree is this tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like a real Russian doll situation.
Yes.
But either way, Nickelback to the rescue. It's really good to see.
Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, Nickel.
That's great.
Ready for that time? Do you have a timestamp, time code?
Yeah. It's 36 minutes and 20 seconds.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Welcome. 25.
So yeah, this we're back at now we're back at the nightmare version of that same kind of like interior set, which is kind of fun. We shot all the stuff at this party like 2 days apart. So so essentially we got to shoot like one day where we were shooting the same scenes in one look, and then shooting like the nightmare scenes the next day in kind of the same order, which was probably the most like joined the two worlds felt, because we were repeating a lot of the same setups, and like even a lot of the background characters are like the same actors coming in as background performers or extras in the same scene, doing very but in one scene they're kind of friendly and then the next scene they're smoking meth or something, and so it was fun for them, I think, because often you do the same, you're looking at the same cantaloupe in the background or whatever for days on end. And it's kind of fun to be able to shake it up a little bit, and everyone had kind of an evil version of their own character, which I think was fun. Other than Bernie, who's the same kind of in both universes.
Yeah, and like the first time we see that when he's coming down the stairs, we actually had somebody like spray painting on the posters with like movie paint, it's so fun to just like give an actor a prop that they can actually like interact with in the world and like change the world a little bit. It was fun.
We liked that basement, didn't we?
I love that.
Yeah, well, we ate lunch down there. It was just I felt like that 70s show or something. It was just like, but yeah, I think they're a really fun couple too, because they're like he looks very he looks like a real evil version of himself here with like kind of this strange smile here. But they spent like, because these Jason and Xenia were like they had all their scenes pretty much together. And so they were just always like called at the same time and like on set, just like hanging out. And they, became like, like people like thought they were like really together for a minute, even though they were just like, no, we just have the same call time.
Yeah. And a nice little, like, very small piece, you can barely catch it, that Matea and I had talked about was having like those kind of like best friend necklaces, but it's like two halves of a heart. And so each one of them is wearing one in this reality, and they're sort of like playing with it the first time we see them there. It's a little cute little moment.
Aw.
These exterior, yeah, the exterior lights were a very fun collaboration with Nick, who kind of, this whole truss system and the synchronized lights, like that was crazy.
I found a photo on my phone the other day of Gareth sitting in one of those booths in the office with
oh god,
timed lighting and all that stuff.
Yeah, this was a kind of a, well, we sort of designed this whole sequence a little bit to, it kind of starts with this conversation, then kind of becomes a more, elaborate kind of chase sequence. But this track that's playing underneath this Carol the Bells cover, Dimitri, who's this guy, Dimitri Vegas, he's actually like a world-class musician. Like he's one of the most popular DJs in Europe. And he actually wrote this cover of Carol the Bells that plays in the background. And so we kind of like, worked on these lighting cues to kind of like go with the song that he wrote. And I mean, you can't quite tell that the lights as synced up as they were, but like, but this whole sequence is kind of designed around that. But he might be the first person in horror movie history to like write his own death song.
Yeah.
Wow!
That's
hey guys,
cool accomplishment.
We got another knock at the door, ladies and gentlemen. As another surprise guest is from the film is joining us. You know them; they've been on the channel before. Absolutely a joy. Please welcome back the character you've been seeing quite a bit of and on screen, plays Bernie. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jess McLeod. Hi, Jess. Welcome.
Yes.
So good to see you again.
Lovely to see you too.
Oh, this is fantastic. What a panel. Give it up, chat. Come on, give it up. Look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Play.
I'm glad you could join us. This is about to become the Winnie Bernie show here.
Oh,
yes.
I don't know where we're at, so I'm also gonna try to join in on the time code situation. Let me just log into.
Sure.
No,
it's perfect timing. You're literally almost the halfway mark on the dot.
Love to see it.
Yes.
Yeah, you're coming at the midpoint because there's actually shockingly less Bernie in the first half than the second half. So you're really here for the good stuff.
Wow. Good.
But I really like this. Tiana, you were editor of your high school yearbook. Am I correct about that? So you knew exactly how to do this.
Yeah. It was really a fun moment to like read it in the script and be like, oh, there's a yearbook, and then to get to design it again. I never thought I'd get to make another yearbook, and we had like a whole couple days that we shot like yearbook photos of a lot of the kind of crew that was on the younger side, and all that. We tried to get a lot of the cast in. Jess came in, got their yearbook photo taken, and yeah, it was so much fun to put together. And yeah, like see all my friends in there and the crew and everything.
Yeah, so we're deep in the bizarro world here, but what was it like, Jess, to be relentlessly bullied by Kiki?
Delightful. I love being relentlessly bullied. It's like one of the greatest joys as an actor, I think. I said this the first time I came on your show, Stephen, but the breakdown was so cutting. It was like super depressed, no friends. Everybody thinks they're so weird. Like a huge loser, and I had multiple people send me the breakdown going like, you're perfect for this. So I feel like it was just very
Aw.
out. It all just happened the way it was supposed to, you know.
Aw.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I've told I think all of you know this who were involved in making it, but I think we talked a little bit with this, Jess, but like Bernie was the hardest part to cast, and like we cast like as wide a net as we could because we were looking originally as kind of like, you know, we were making lists and we didn't really have a great like, you know, option that we were looking for, but then we were looking at people in the States, we were looking at people in Canada, like we were looking at people like in Toronto and Vancouver and kind of anywhere we could, and I watched like, you know, like when we got like I don't know, I should ask Judy, but like high like almost 1,000 tapes probably, like, you know, like it's like a lot of tapes. And I personally watched over like probably 150 of them, you know, that were like the ones that were like weeded down, you know. Jeez. And so it was like, you know, and the ironic thing about it was yours was like the second one that I watched, like because I got the tapes and Michael had got them earlier in the day and he was like working through it and I was prepping, and then I like watched the first one that was like you know, Aaron A. Aronson or whatever the first one alphabetically was, and then he said to me like, take a look at Jess McLeod, and so yours was the second one I watched, and then I started watching them kind of in order again, and I got back to yours, and it just kind of became the yardstick of like, you know, which was great because it was just like, anyway, it was funny, but I don't know if you've heard that.
Wow, no one was as big a loser as me. Hey. No one could get that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, you know, but like we needed somebody who was like authentically strange, and I don't mean that in a bad, but like, you know, as in like you know, but like seriously, like kind of knew what it's like to like, you know, not feel right in your skin, and like, you know, kind of like there needed to be some like it couldn't just be comedy, and people played it like that too, you know, and it couldn't just be like that bookwormish thing, like, and I think you found this, you know, good balance to it, that you know, I think, you know, we sharpened, but it, you know, it was a lot of it was there, you know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Tyler described hiring me to Seth a similar way, I think.
You needed somebody authentically strange.
Yeah, I watched
depressed, walk all over me. It would be fun.
I was like, cinematographer needs to be a huge loser.
That's why I felt so connected to Nick, I think, throughout this process, is that we both were hired for the same reason.
They were like, please just let him shoot it. He's so desperate.
Oh gosh,
he's so weird.
You understand he needs this.
Oh man, that's too much. Hey, Tiana, we got a question for you.
Oh gosh.
Nathaniel's asking, have you ever acted before, and ultimately what got you into the design side?
Oh, complicated. I have technically acted before. Yes.
Okay.
I used to.
What do you mean by technically?
I used to be a competitive dancer, and I used to do a lot of theater when I was younger.
Okay.
And then I also that was a long time ago. And then I think last year or something, my friend asked me to be in a little spec commercial of his. That's the only thing. But yeah, not acting is not. I do not enjoy it, and I'm not good at it. So I stick to the design, which has always been my passion. I got into design. I was originally an interior designer, and then didn't end up loving that, and made the transition into film. So it's always been like a passion and interest.
Well, they're probably just asking because your charisma's leaping off the screen right now, and you know.
Yes, that's true. It's very true. Hey, real quick, Russell sent a $2 super chat. Says, "Congrats on It's a Wonderful Knife film. Great job. First time watch." So Russell's watching it tonight for the first time.
Oh, thanks, Russell. We appreciate you checking it out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Russell. All right.
We're in your room, Jess, in Bernie's room.
Oh yeah. What is the? I've always kind of wondered, and this is, but like when you kind of, Jess, when you work on a character and you're kind of, there's a lot of the actors' work is like kind of prep work, and like I know you have preliminary discussions and read the script and kind of do your own breakdown and stuff, but what's it like when you walk into like the space of a character and like other like decisions have been sort of made? Like how aware of you are you of that sort of stuff? Like, like obviously a lot of this, some of this is on the page, and I know we talked about some of this beforehand, but like, is it kind of strange to me, or do you find it like, is it just more real, or does it help, or what's that process like?
I mean, what was great about this was that I knew Tiana already. So we kind of had like a little bit of a Pinterest board conversation going. I felt very, I felt like I was a little, Nick, what?
I tried to play that off so quietly.
You should have just straight faced it, Nick, and just had him go. What?
I don't know what that was. I'm sorry.
This is great.
I don't know if I can continue after this.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
So good. This is, if you're wondering what it was like on set, this is similar.
Yeah.
It's a similar vibe. Tiana and I had a Pinterest board thing going. Tiana would send me like little links to Facebook Marketplace of like, oh, like we got this chair, like we might want this thing, and I was like, sick. So when I came in, I knew sort of what it would be, but I feel like with the production design and with costume design and with makeup on this, I came in pretty late to the game. I didn't have a lot of like involvement in the prep of what things would look like, and I feel like a couple of the things, specifically the makeup design for Bernie, I was like, they pitched it to me, Miel, and I was like, that's not how I saw it at all. and then she was like, let me explain why, and I thought, oh, that's way better than anything I could have thought of. So I feel like that is often what happens, is like I'll sort of have my own ideas, but I feel like when people are really invested in the thing and they're really talented at what they do, pretty much every single time their ideas will be better than what I thought, and then it just adds to what I'm doing, which is nice.
Yeah, it's so nice. Like, I love to be able to talk to the actors, especially like beforehand, and like just dive into what their version of the character is, because it's always so vastly different than like my interpretation and how I've read the script. And, especially anytime I get to work with Jess, it's just like, it's so great. And they're so, just like down to talk about it. And they get the reason why I want to have those conversations, which is really nice.
Yeah. And Nick, this was one of the scenes, like this is one of my favorite scenes on the page, but like we did a little bit of rehearsal on this and with this one, and it was like one of our audition scenes. But it was, something that we were kind of worried about in the edit, because we were trying to kind of see the relationship, a little bit more. And originally it was kind of like, I know we've talked about this on the interview, but like, or if we talked about this in interviews, but like in the shooting draft of the script, Bernie and Winnie were friends, like primarily, and there was like some undertones stuff there. But then once we kind of cast Jane and Jess, it really kind of developed into something more. And this scene was kind of where you sort of first started to see those sparks. And it was, and we wanted to be kind of like subtle and kind of slow played and kind of, growing here, but like, it's all there. I don't know why people, like it's, it seems like it's, I was very happy to be able to take the time to shoot this scene, in this kind of quiet way. Especially when that was a day we only had like 9 hours on set or something. But it was when this is at the Rio Theater, which is one of my favorite theaters in Vancouver. We just did a screening actually there where they did a double feature of It's a Wonderful Life and It's a Wonderful Knife, which is pretty fun.
That's cool.
It was good. Yeah. It was it was like on the 23rd. So I think, but it was, a good turnout.
Nice. Yeah. I was so disappointed I couldn't make it, but glad we get to do this.
I did watch It's a Wonderful Life on that day, just for the heck of it.
Mm-hmm. I'll take It's a Wonderful Knife, personally.
Yeah, how was it? Was it just garbage compared to what we've done?
I don't know.
Oh gosh.
Looks like it's in black and white.
Yeah.
Don't love it.
Sorry, I'm catch up on the chat here. Well, If this movie's on Joe Bob Briggs highlights Joe Bob Briggs highlights your movie next Christmas, would you go on shows to talk about it? I'd love to go on Joe Bob Briggs. I grew up with that show, like Monster.
Yeah.
Like so yeah. I mean most horror fans I'm sure know, but like Tiana and Jess, do you know who Joe Bob Briggs is?
Ashamed to say I don't.
No.
Ashamed to say I don't.
Well, Nick, you're from Texas. You all know who Joe. Anyway, he's like this. He's a horror host, and like a journalist / kind of caricature, and he hosts the Joe Bob Briggs show or the Last Drive-In now on Shudder. And he does like these double features where he kind of hosts these kind of great, sort of insightful. You like watch his show and it's an evening and you watch 2 movies, and I would love to. That's a life goal to play. Have one of my movies on the Joe Bob Briggs show. That would be awesome.
Well, so Tyler, think about it. You've been on my channel, so that's off your bucket list. So the only other one, no, I'm just kidding.
Twice.
Twice. That's right. No.
Yeah, I would love to do the Joe Bob Briggs or the Last Drive-In, and but I mean, he picks a lot of older movies, but he started to pick more newer ones, especially in this with the Shudder run. So hopefully, hopefully we get a shot. I know his producers a little bit. Maybe I'll send them an email.
There you go. That'd be great. Jess, did you need a time code by chance? Jess, did you need a stamp or?
I found it. We're all good.
You were good. We're good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So this scene, you had a couple of funny alts here, like this bit about the Angularian thong. And stuff like so I don't know, anyway, there's a couple lines in here that Jess kind of added. One of them is her last tag there, but this was kind of a funny section because we didn't quite know what to do with it because we needed like Aunt Gail to kind of have this turn. But anyway, it gets a lot of laughs when we watch it in the theater.
Yeah, I love the little lean over, make something up. Great.
I was really just waiting for anyone to tell me to stop adding things in scenes, but it didn't happen, which is nice, but I was surprised by that because I felt like I simply would not shut up.
Do people tell you to pump the brakes a lot? Like, because I'm kind of greedy. I like to gather stuff and then strip it out later.
Do people tell me to pump the brakes a lot? Yeah, absolutely.
Are they always like, hey, stop?
They're like, enough. Like, it's great. What we have in the script is great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, if it makes me laugh, I'm inclined to keep it or at least shoot it. There's no, I mean, you can just cut it out. I don't know what the big deal is, especially with the coverage being cut like this. Nick, do you want to maybe talk about this scene? This is one of the ones that was. We had originally a little bit more of an elaborate plan for this, but then once you kind of lit it, it looks so creepy already.
I mean, we knew that this was kind of our emotional seriousness in terms of like fear or something scary, right? Like Joel kind of turned it on right here for right. It's funny to see Joel doing something like this because you hit cut, you say cut, and then he's like joking about stuff like right off screen. But yeah, we lit it. I think Gareth really loved lighting this. It was anyone that's into lighting loves using like little pockets of light and like using silhouette to just outline somebody rather than put a big backlight on them. You know, that kind of stuff is fun. The lighting, I think, really matches the mood, and maybe it's a little fantastical, but I think that's allowed. I know we had some. We talked about some different shots that we wanted to do. I mean, I think we found that like a lot of it, once they Joel, once they started like acting, we kind of cut out all the big like moving shots that we talked about and really just focused on them.
Yeah, which hey, it's not every day you can do that. Usually, you gotta give.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing when you can cut out all your bells and whistles because you don't need them.
Yeah. Just catching up on some of the chats. So we were asking what our favorite scary movie is. Hey, my favorite scary movie is Evil Dead 2, but my favorite Christmas scary movie is Scrooged. So, I don't know if that counts, but I think it does. I think that movie's a horror movie. I mean, like the Richard Donner Scrooged, you know? What about you guys?
E.T.
Yeah.
It's not really a scary movie, but when he finds it in the
What
field,
are you talking about? That movie's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Wasn't expecting that for Nick.
When the plant's dying and like the kid's
Terrifying.
screaming and the government's trying to take you away, that's terrifying.
I think
there's a shot of a cord like pulling a chair up against the wall.
Yeah.
It's creatively scary.
Jess, do you have any? What's your favorite horror movie?
I really loved Talk to Me this year. I loved it so much. Really
I was
good.
just on a panel with Danny who made that, and it was at the LA Comic Con. Yeah, they anyway, he's rad. That movie's awesome. I mean, I'm sure everyone
It's so good. That montage of like the party with them doing the bit over and over again, and the song that they use, so good, so good, so good.
Yeah.
I thought they used cell phones really well in the world.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much. It was, they're going to exist, but it can kind of get kind of a weird crutch in some movies, and I think they did it really well.
Tiana?
I mean, I went through a long time of not really enjoying horror movies too much, but I used to love them when I was younger. And I think like the first movie I ever watched that really truly scared me when I was a kid was Amityville Horror. Or I think that's what it's
like
called.
The 70s one or like the Ryan Reynolds
like
one?
Early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
it's like 2007
it's a
or
truly
something.
terrifying one, yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't watched it in years, but I remember loving that movie. I used to watch it on repeat. So that'd probably be mine. But I don't know about today, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. People seem a little bit confused about the Aguilarian thong thing. That's just a Michael Kennedyism. They're talking about it's about Christina Aguilera. A lot of people on here are probably too young to remember who that is.
I had to Google that one for sure.
Yeah, she was big in the 90s and was known for having thongs appear above the jean line, and that is a reference to what would have been around Catherine Isabel's late 90s teenagehood. And the X-Files Smoking Man, he was just a great like I've been a big fan of his since I was a kid, and we're looking at a lot of other kind of like good kind of like Canadian local actors. Like we knew we couldn't bring in someone from the States because we were shooting in Canada. And so I talked to Michael Ironside, who is, from Scanners and like Starship Troopers. And I've been really wanting to put him in something for a long time. And we couldn't figure out the schedule. Like he had like one day open that we could have done it maybe, but he would have had to fly in and fly out. And we weren't sure it was going to 100% work, especially if something shifted. So we ended up going with William B. Davis instead. But he was kind of high on the list of just great actors that I've wanted to work with forever. So.
Absolutely.
Tyler, there's a question for you.
Ooh, what's that?
With directing this movie, would you consider this your big break into the filming industry?
The filming industry, yeah. I guess, I always feel like every movie is my big break, every time you make a movie. I mean, this is like my fourth or fifth feature, depending on how you count. And so, every time they get a little bit bigger, and I'm like, oh man, this is my big break. And the answer is no. And then eventually one day I'll, hopefully it gets big enough that then my mom will be like, oh, you can do this for a living, even though I've been for a living for, 15 years. But yeah.
That is the dream.
That
your mom gives you that.
Those breaks can be short-lived. So,
well, I'll tell you what. You know what the thing that made this most real was when Fox News said we were ruining Christmas. I was like, man, that'll impress my mom.
Emblem of cultural decay. And does it get better? I don't think so.
No, and they didn't even know that it was so gay.
They didn't even know.
Do they know now? I'm so curious.
If they actually watched this thing, but they got mad about the poster.
I doubt it. Yeah. I doubt they even watched it, honestly. Probably not.
And they didn't, and they got really confused. And one of them started talking about, started confusing "It's a Wonderful Life" with "It's a Small World."
Oh no!
I mean, it's really funny. And
man,
and there's kind of this counterpoint sort of piece about Christmas horror on ABC a couple weeks after that. Anyway, it was funny. I thought it was just funny to be on the news. But
wow,
So yeah, I do feel like
Yeah.
it's a big break in that way.
Mhm. All right, so what do we got going on here? This is pretty intense, guys. We are.
Oh yeah,
you know,
we're deep into it now. Like
yeah,
and here's an example of, you guys asked about Joel McHale earlier. So when we were filming this, Joel McHale just sat on the ground with a mask on
mhm.
The whole time.
the entire time. Whereas normally you would just replace him with a sandbag or something like that, but he like wanted to be there for the younger actors and everyone else in the scene, and it was a really good scene partner. And we were kind of like, great, but I mean, a lot of people, there's no, I mean, usually you wouldn't necessarily be there, but he sat there for like 2.5 hours while we shot all those inserts of people's feet.
Dang.
Anyway, it's a fun day. But
Good for him. Leading by example, man. That's awesome. And hey, we got a super chat question from my buddy Eric at the Bearded Entertainment. Thank you, Eric. Says, I might have missed if the question was asked, but are there any upcoming projects you all have that you can tell us about right now? Any cats you can let out of the bag? By chance, Tyler, we'll start with you and go around.
Yeah, I mean, not yet. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't really. But I'm working on a like a movie or based on a horror comedy that's based on a book for right now. So.
Well, good for you. Okay. Well, this is exciting. We'll talk offline about when I might be able to talk to you a little more freely about that. And then once that announcement comes out,
Well, I mean, we're in casting right now, so that's so
okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Nice. All right, Tiana, I know you're in the middle of a project now, but what do you have anything coming up on the horizon, near future?
That
you can share.
Yeah, I mean, the first feature I ever designed. It's called Cold Copy. It's like a drama. It'll be apparently out in theaters at some point in 2024. Nice. I don't know when, but y'all should go see that when it's out. And yeah,
same editor. Aren't people got this?
Tyler actually saw Cold Copy before I ever did, which was kind of funny. And we talked about it the first time we met, and I was like, what a strange small world.
Yeah. It's part of the. Yeah, I mean, I was glad because I'd seen some of your work.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know what it looks like. Oh dear.
That's great. Nick, how about you, man? What's on? You got some stuff on you're working on?
I'm still trying to get a cat in the bag.
Gotcha. Oh, of course, absolutely. All right, Jess. I know that you last time I talked to you, there was something you couldn't quite yet talk about, but it's still the case, right?
And I still cannot.
Okay.
I still cannot.
Okay.
Can't wait to talk about it when I'm allowed to.
Got it.
I'm afraid I will be shot in the street if I say a single word. So I'm very
oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Just make sure that we're not the last ones to hear.
Well, I mean, Tyler, it's so interesting that like there hasn't been a single email in my inbox about and you're in casting for something. I just think it's interesting.
No. It's hey. Don't worry, you're on some lists.
Wow. Tiana, are you working on something and I don't know right now?
It's just a teeny commercial.
Still,
yeah.
Big slide.
No, thank you. It's nice to kick off the new year with something small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see we have some questions in here, but really quickly, can I read 2 of the Letterboxd reviews that I found particularly entertaining from this film?
I haven't heard any Letterboxd reviews except for the ones that Michael Kennedy checks me.
There were 2 that I really loved. One is from Ivy Nelson that says, I usually don't care about recognizing myself in movies, but my heartbeat started low-key galloping the instant I saw Weirdo, the lesbian autistic no one likes, which I really was so touched by. And the other one is, Chase Mitchell said this one, Justin Long's fake teeth for best supporting.
Yes.
Yeah, they
are a character in themselves at this point.
Yes.
Tears. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's funny. Oh, and this theater sequence here is probably my favorite like set piece in the movie. But it's like was Nick, do you want to talk maybe about how you designed these like flashes?
Yeah, well, having that camera on the mannequin to represent Winnie's character seemed like a really good opportunity for me to use to incorporate the flashes and during the chase sequence. And I knew that obviously the killer's in a big white robe, so I figured big dark room, big white robe, that would stand out and just kind of have that effect of like burning into your retina, when you see something really bright. And I thought it'd be cool to try to do that. It was basically just ran with that idea. I think we told Tyler that, and he liked that. And I don't know. That's what we did.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh well, that bit playing on the screen was a bit of an Easter egg. I don't know if it's an Easter egg really, but Tyler and I both independently agreed that had to be on screen, and then when we told each other, it was like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, the let's all go to the lobby thing, which we had to clear and actually have there. But then there's this movie coming out called Founders Day. That's like a slasher movie that's coming out in January.
Yes,
they use "Let's All Go to the Lobby" in the trailer, and it's like this creepy like version of it. Anyway, I met the guys who made that movie at Toronto After Dark this year, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, it's like Anyway, but we got there first. Just know that.
That's right.
I'm actually really excited to see that movie.
Yeah,
and that clip became something because it was my art director Louisa Birkin who was like getting that and clearing it and dealing with whatever company it was in the US to get us, and it became like a sort of running joke and across all departments, I think, but especially in the art department. Like whenever we would go to a different set, we would start singing the song like "Let's all go to Steveston," and it ran for way too long, and it still occasionally gets stuck in my head.
It's very catchy. It really is. Let's see. Russell sent in a $5 super chat. Russell, thank you. Met Michael Ironside at an AA meeting years ago in Toronto. Interesting person. Well, okay.
Well, I mean, we're really missing the operative part of that second A. But
Automotive Association meeting? Yeah. Automotive
Association that's
I just renewed my membership.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, Michael Ironside is awesome. He like and kind of an intimidating person to talk to on the phone, just FYI. But yeah, he's intense, and I really am excited to. It's now my life's mission to get to work with him in a movie.
Yeah.
He loves automobiles.
Automobiles, man, that's where it's at. And Bearded has a follow-up question. Thank you, Bearded, for another $5 super chat. How does one go about auditioning, asking for a friend who is actually me? Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, Jess, you might have a little more insight to this than I do. How do you like? Do all you? I know there's like there's like the self-sub stuff, and then there's like stuff that comes through like casting directors through reps. And I assume that like at this, you've been in a lot of stuff at this point, so like I assume most of your stuff is done through reps. But like for actors who are kind of emerging, do you find like that's a good way to get going? Is like the self-sub stuff?
Yeah, I think like if you look, depending on the city that you live in, there are specific websites that you can go to self-submit. There's something called Backstage, which is like pretty popular in the States, that you can look, and there will be like lots of student films or plays or stuff like that are probably not paid very well, but it's experience. And that'll help you get an agent, which will then get you the bigger auditions. I mean, I'm currently doing a play that I self-submitted for. So we're still out here. we're still self-submitting. Yeah, it works forever. It's very good.
Yeah, and it's also like a little tough to kind of like tell what is a real project versus a project that may not ever get finished and stuff like that. Like, and that's the danger of self-sub stuff from what the actors that I know. But my first 3 features, and even actually no, everyone up until this movie really all had some pretty good parts that went up through self-sub platforms in some form. So like you can get on like movies that get relatively widely distributed that are legitimate movies that are done, the key would just be to look for stuff that is, that you think you'd be right for, and then know that it is a bit of a numbers game, and just kind of decide where you want to put your time, because it can be quite daunting, reading for stuff, because you often never hear anything, but then people often, and it often doesn't have anything to do with them, it's more just all these factors that are kind of out of your control. But that's most of the actors I know who are successful started just doing that, self-submitting stuff until they got some tape and short films, and then got booked a TV show, and then booked a movie, and then got then eventually just started working. That's most of what I've seen.
Wow, his own brother,
right?
Man,
especially when his brother's as charming as Sean.
Yeah,
right.
And she's so great too. Sydney, that's another actor that I really liked, and we just is criminally underutilized in this movie. It's so funny, and I wish I had a little more material for them.
I mean, she got a great improv in there. I love the microwave. So good.
Yeah. She's so funny too. And it was weird. At one point, we had, I don't think we talked about this, but we had rewritten the Henry Waters part. Originally he was in his 60s, and then we had sort of reconcepted him as a woman in her 40s. And then we were casting kind of a wide net, and for I worked with Judy Greer previously, and we were sort of talking about maybe going out to her, and then eventually we decided on Justin, but it kind of flopped back and forth. There was a lot of different versions of who Henry Waters was, and when it was a female Waters, we were looking for somebody like Sydney, to be kind of the main, and then Buck wouldn't have been the younger brother. He would have been kind of like a himbo, kind of partner for her, and then who she kind of forces to become the sheriff, and that's was kind of very much I think that was the angle of it when Sean Deppner auditioned, was it had it still had Mrs. Waters in there and stuff.
Well, Tyler, we got a question for you from Nicholas with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Nick, for your support. Tyler, was there originally more setup for how Henry made the residents his drones?
Yeah, there was. So in the script that we shot, it had this part where it was kind of like essentially you can see the aurora kind of reflected in their eyes, and there was more of this sense of when he first makes the wish and goes back, and Henry kind of comes up to her and he's like, "Hey, and I don't want to invade your personal space." That scene, by the ambulance. She kind of at the end of it looks him straight in the eyes, and she can see the aurora kind of in his eyes, and then it's sort of seeded a little bit, and then later on when her dad's yelling at her, you saw it kind of flash in his eyes as well, and then when he dies, you see the light kind of go away, and then it's sort of in their eyes. It was this more seeded thing, and that's kind of the way we shot it. But in the editing kind of process, it because we didn't have the visual effects while we were making those editing decisions, I kind of started, a lot of the the test audiences were a little bit confused, and we sort of scaled some of it back a little bit, and we kind of ended up on this version because we couldn't the audience was so, if you didn't have something there, the audience was so unreactive that it they needed to we need to kind of seed it a little bit, but it was set up differently. But and we ended up kind of on this version of it, which is probably things that I think changed the most between the kind of script and where it was.
Yeah. Well, Jess, we just got to see you punch Mayor Waters really solid, man. He went down.
Pretty good one.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks, everyone. That was my favorite thing to do.
I wasn't there for that evening. What is it like, Jess, to get to do those stunts and stuff?
I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. I will say Sean Deppner was there that whole night, and I knew him before this, and he kept coming up to me after and going you don't have to do that every time. The camera's not on you. You don't have to yell so loud. And I was like, I fear that I'm in it. So if it works on, I simply don't know what I will do. I really gave vocally on that every time. Whether that was the right choice or not, it remains to be seen. But I feel like I enjoyed it. So that was great.
I think it was one of my favorite shots in the movie is like that shot of you when he's like pointing at you and being like the most pathetic, like, and it looks like you're gonna blow up. Like it's just
I'm
it
full of
has that,
rage.
like, yeah, it's just Nick, do you want to talk about this the snowflakes here?
Oh yeah. We thought it would be good to do a little effect in camera for kind of our magical moments. And it's really just, well, Tiana helped me make it. Remember, we just printed a snowflake design on some vinyl stickers. And you had like a printer that would print stickers.
Yeah,
We
just a
stuck it
little
on a
Cricut machine, and
that's right.
Oh, wow.
it was one of the first things we actually ever did. Like, Nick showed up at the offices and he's like, I want to do this snowflake thing. Can you help me with this? And I was like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then we tested it, and it really looked really magical. It was very cool. Very easy.
Yeah, it's just changing the shape of the light coming through the barrel of the lens. The light would normally pass through it and come out like a circle, and then that changes to a square when it hits the square sensor. But if you change the shape of the light, you can do this at home. I made a test with construction paper, and I showed Tyler. You do it whatever shape you want.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And here we are back in Super Christmas.
That's right.
I think the first time I watched this, and like when we came back into the happy reality, it was almost a little bit jarring about like how warm everything was. And it took my eyes almost like a second to adjust, and it was like, wow, everything.
Oh yeah,
like, it looks.
When we were coloring the movie, that was a big problem because we were just like all day we'd be looking at the blue of Bizarro World and we'd be like, why is everything pink? It's not. Your eyes are messed up because we're looking at so much blue.
Yeah.
It's like when you walk out of a theater, right? After watching a movie in the sunlight, you're like, Yeah.
I think we neutralized it. We kept turning the warmth down and down and down because it just feels so warm. Even this is fairly neutral. Yes, me.
Jess, we've got a question for you from my good friend Jen. Thank you, Jen, for the super chat. Jess, says, I've only done stage acting. Is it a different process for auditioning for film?
I think it used to be really different, but now it's with COVID and self-tapes and stuff. It's actually the first round, at least, is quite similar. For the most part, unless you're auditioning for something regionally in your city, it'll be a self-tape. You'll do a self-tape. You'll send it off. But then, kind of after that, depending on what you're auditioning for, it does kind of differ after that. I feel like with film, it's just more like kind of working on minutia stuff in the room with like a callback or a test deal, and the actual like contract part is quite different. But I would say, like with COVID, it's not that different. Lots of things are self-taped now.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, I know we're getting close to the end, but I just got a text that I need to go to a production meeting.
Understand, Nick. Thank you, Nick. I'm going to reach back out to you, Nick, one-on-one. I'd love to have you back where we could really visit. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for having me. And
my pleasure. Thank you, sir. Take care, Nick.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you.
And we're wrapping it up here. And this scene, just one little tidbit here, is so there's this kind of plot of like the subplot where Bernie's was secretly planning on or was entertaining the idea of maybe committing suicide,
right?
And so originally there was this version of the scene where Bernie kind of shows Winnie her arm where it's been slashed earlier to kind of show that Bernie's the same Bernie from the alternate reality, and then she remembers all they've gone through. And it kind of confused things because it looked like she was literally in the middle of trying to kill herself in the other room. And so we were kind of like, and it really threw people and kind of, so we ended up going with the much happier take, which I love. And then kind of, ADRing a little bit of the, like, I remember stuff. And that seemed to help kind of bridge that little confusion. But that's the reason that's different, Jess, in case you're wondering.
I was kind of wondering about that, actually.
Yeah. Well, it played real dark the first time.
I didn't see that.
We're like, was she literally just trying to cut her?
Great choice, Tyler. The way it's done, perfect. much great choice. Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There's these little things here, like there's a bloody scissors and stuff on Mateo's credit there, and like a couple of these little details. We want to do something a little bit bigger with the credits, but we ended up kind of scaling it down to this for time. But it was I'm glad we got this weird little tunnel. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm curious, like, because when I see the tunnel, I think it's like a callback to the scene at the very beginning on the dock where Kara's kissing Eddie, or is it the arch from Bernie's?
Originally the idea was that we would pull back through the arch and then we just keep pulling back through an arch, but the timing didn't really work out, and it makes more sense. The camera stops and you see the lights go on, and then we tried going through the arch like digitally, but then it was weird that everything but the arch disappears. So we ended up kind of going to this kind of middle version of it, but it is sort of a callback to both.
Cool.
It's I love the happy. It's the way you want the movie to end, right? It's
Merry Christmas, everybody. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Is there any other outstanding questions we need to hit?
We got just a couple. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it for those in the watch party. I'm gonna stop it here, and let's first of all, guys in the audience, please round of applause in the chat for our panel, because this was an amazing movie. You guys rocked this movie. Again, this is my 7th or 8th watch, and I love it. You just did such a great job, and thank you for putting all of your efforts and all of your hard work into this film, because it shows. It truly does. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Got just a few comments I'll throw up here for everybody before we start to wrap it up. Jason, I love this movie too. I was emotionally invested. Fell in love with Winnie and Bernie. Great chemistry and relationship. Great ensemble. Thank you, Tyler, Tiana, and your entire cast and crew. All right. And of course, getting lots of applauses. Let's see here. Nicholas says, awesome movie. For the record, this song is awesome. It's the joy to the word that one was playing at the end there. I've since listened to it a few times on Apple Music since seeing the movie. Great.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. More traffic. I'm happy with some of the music we got in the movie, and it's been kind of fun because like I just listened to like thousands of Christmas tracks, like, and it was a little crazy. It was like,
I bet.
But my wife was going a little crazy. But it was this was one of the fun kind of finds, and there's another one called Holy Effing Shit, It's Christmas, which I thought was so funny. There's a couple really, there's some gems in there. You should you put in the rotation next time you're sit down.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, here's a question for you, Tyler, that I was saving until the end of the movie. Paula asks, would you consider directing Scream 7? Because there is a director vacancy open.
Ooh, that's a loaded question right now. That's a tough one. I think I'm really it's too bad that things kind of fell apart as they did, because they had such a good thing going with Melissa and Jenna, and I think Chris Landon was a great person to take over for Radio Silence.
Yeah.
I think it's a sticky thing. I think they're gonna have a really hard time finding a new person for that. I don't necessarily think that I would be the right choice, but I love that franchise, grew up loving that franchise, and the things that I would try and do with it would be probably things that were a little different. I think Spyglass has to kind of sort out, what they how they reacted, kind of how they did, and how they, things got to the point where they fell apart so horribly. And, it's a sticky situation. And I'm hoping that there's some sort of path forward for that. But it's really heartbreaking, because there's it's really tough to reimagine a franchise in the middle of it. And they did such a good job of it, and those people are obviously so committed to that. And, I have some friends who were involved with the last two movies, and everyone, it was really so much work went into getting those movies to that point. I think I think it'd be hard to step in. I don't think I would really be the right person to do that. Somebody who I think if you're going to, I think they might just have to let it rest, you know. That's the only way to move forward.
Give it some time.
That's what it seems like to me.
Okay. That's fair. And thanks for your honesty on that, Tyler. I appreciate that, man. Jen says, my third time watching it was a pleasure to watch it with you all. Val says, it's a fabulous movie. It's her first time watch tonight. She loved it. Russell, great film. Fantastic. We'll watch it again. You guys did a good job.
Tiana, I don't think I've ever asked you, do you have a favorite scene?
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, like performance and like there's that tree. God
I
damn
had
it.
to.
No, actually, like no, it's funny that you put that up there because I was gonna say are probably like design wise, I love when like you see Bernie and when he run through the town square and it's all like chaos. And I just think that's really cool. And there's some really nice reflections on like the ground and stuff. And I just love the way that whole thing looks. But then, yeah, I don't know, like there's just some like really funny moments throughout it. Like there's a couple lines that I always just like crack up watching. And I don't know if I could really pick a favorite because I really enjoyed the whole thing. Like it was so much fun to make. Like every day, you know, it was challenging at some points, but it was so fun overall. So
yeah,
really fond memories.
Hey, I'm glad you can remember it that way. You know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm always having fun, but it also like I know I come off as intense for like because I'm just so hyper focused on stuff. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it was a tough shoot, but not like the toughest of shoots. Like I think everyone really got along, and we had a really good mix of people. And that's what you want when you're doing something really, that is kind of difficult. And like, you never quite have enough time, you never quite have enough money and on any projects. And so, but I really appreciated how like into it people got and really brought, like contributed to it. And that's the other thing is like, this is really a collaboration, like top to bottom. You can see a lot of Tiana in this movie and you can see a lot of Jess in this movie. You can see a lot of all our, like any of the key creative people. There's a lot of signatures of them in this film, and that's not always the case. And it's that was what was so helpful for me. It was people really kind of got what we were doing, and we're on the same page, and we're putting in that extra work that makes the difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now this was directed to Tyler, but Tiana, I'm sure you probably have a great deal to say about this question too, one way or the other. It's from Nathaniel. How much of the White Angel outfit was inspired by the original costume for Ghostface? I don't know if he goes, Wes Craven's original idea was for it to be a white robe, not black. And he decided to go with black. But did that play a factor at all?
Not for me necessarily. Like I'm tangentially aware of that story, but like, I saw Wes Craven speak a couple times, but I never really interacted with him very much. But I know Michael's a big fan of his, and so like that white costume, or the costume was all white, was in the script before I came on, so we kind of had to figure out more what that meant. But obviously, there's a number of other references in Scream, and Michael is one of the biggest Scream fans in the world. So like that's. Even like, like Kevin Williamson did like a Q&A with us at the Draft House, and like he really enjoys the movie, and like so like it was kind of a fun thing to sort of see like those sort of tie-ins. So like there was definitely like an influence there. We knew he was going to be kind of a hooded character and a kind of a lean, kind of quick sort of slasher with a knife. So I think it's natural to draw that comparison, but I wouldn't say like not specifically to like that, like Wes Craven threw this idea out and to use in this other context. Not exactly, no.
Sure.
Yeah, I think for us, like working together with like Matea and creating the look of this killer, because it was, like you mentioned, scripted as all white. Like something that I remember I kept hearing was, we want this to be like as iconic as Ghostface and in its own right, but and I don't want to say that we did that because it hasn't been, but
Well,
I think the
you
look of
did.
it is something really special. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I think I shared this with all of you when I had you individually, that the minute I saw that full costume, I said, oh my gosh, this is my most favorite slasher costume, like, villain costume since Ghostface. And I still feel that way. I really do. It's impactful, it's powerful, and it's just awesome. I mean, how can you not love the blood on the white? The backsplash. It's so great.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, if we ever did it again, it would be kind of fun to, like, how the face is like kind of all white, like do like a cracked version of it, like you got hit in the face with a sledgehammer or something like that, and it's like kind of spidered up, like
Yes.
anyway, that could be kind of fun, like sort of like
That would
battle
be really
ravage,
cool.
like
That's
ancient,
awesome.
or something. I don't know.
I love
Sequel.
Sequel. Well, I
There you
remember
go.
one of the first questions I think I asked Tyler on like the very first day was, I had a question about the script, and I was like, well, Winnie and Bernie, right? That's a thing. And Tyler said, maybe in a sequel. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Not,
what an
not have
ending.
anything to say about it.
No.
Let me say.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I did this. I did one of the movies I did a couple of years ago was called Tragedy Girls, and we had like that movie's like, again, it's like kind of like this, like was scripted as like these two, like very close female friendship kind of at the center of it, and it just became like, because like, well, first of all, we cast two queer performers, and it ended up being, like, the chemistry was great, and like, it just ended up, by the time the movie was done, just being so like
It's so
loaded.
It's
so gay.
And we were like, really leaning into it. Like, if you listen to any of the song choices we made at the end of that, like,
yeah,
we were all like very aware of it, and but then like, when the movie comes out and people are like, why did they kiss at the end? Cowards, like so, like it's in the back of my mind, going into this. But, like,
I was waiting when I watched that. I was like, any day now they look so we got to make it right on this one. I mean,
really, it does feel good to get to redo it,
I will say, when we did the screening in LA and people cheered when we kissed, I was like, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. It's great ending. It really is. And I saw, like Val said in the chat earlier, love that Bernie remembered. That was awesome. See that Bernie remembered. I got 2 questions left. If you guys have time, or real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you, guys. This is for everybody. Says, do any of you have any New Year's resolutions with regards to movie making? From Fido.
Yeah, do more of it. That's
Yep.
always I think Fido might be a friend of mine, Mr. Chris Hopp, out in Red Deer, Alberta, who's
cool.
and a very like gifted comedian who I worked with on a lot of kind of my early films. Who's just
Nice.
one of the sweetest human beings in the world. The New Year's resolution is to work on more movies, and see if maybe we can get Fido back in the saddle someday, because super funny. Seriously, one of the best natural comedic improvisers I've ever met.
Wow, that's saying a lot. That's amazing. Well, Fido, thanks for coming tonight. Pleasure having you here. Anyone else have any resolutions you want to, in general? It could be about anything you want to share, and if not, that's no problem. Just want to ask. No.
Say, I don't know. I'm the 2024 is the year of yes for me. I think I've decided. So whatever projects come up, I'm open to them. I'm ready for it. I'm excited. I would love to maybe do some traveling for work. I'm trying to manifest that for my 2024. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
yeah, I just want to keep going. I'm gonna do some more directing this year, so that's very exciting for me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but acting, we'll always be doing it. So if anyone wants to give me a job, I'm available.
I love it. Yeah, and Fido did say yes. That's me. Fido confirmed, Tyler, for sure. All right, and then one other question here, real quick, was, and of course anyone can chime in. But it says, my good friend Destin, or Destination Station, says, "Hey Tyler, for someone that wants to become a horror film director like myself, what steps would you recommend to take when starting out?"
I would say like horror movies is a great place to start. Like for anybody, just because there's like people who watch horror movies are very open. So I will watch like if you Destination Station go out and make a horror movie with your friends in the woods, I'm pumped to watch it. Like really, and a lot of horror fans are, because like it's a bit like the metaphor I love is that like it's a bit like jazz, like the notes are the same, but how do you play it? And like that's a really exciting place to start, and so you can do things kind of lo-fi. And I would encourage you to try and pick a project that, like, I mean, depends on if you're a writer or not. Like, and if you're a writer, write something towards things that you might have. Like if you have a friend who has a farm, write something you can shoot on his farm. Like if you have a like if you live in an urban situation and have an apartment, write something that takes place in your apartment. Like and make like the important thing is to try and make something that you can finish, that is kind of like the stuff that you want to do. And then once that's done, see how people react to it, and then use the lessons from that to make something bigger. And then and as long as you keep making stuff, they will naturally get bigger. And then eventually they'll get so big they can't stop you, and you'll be doing it for a living, and you'll be trapped. And that's where I am. And you need, and you want to it's a good place to kind of you can be very creative in kind of a lo-fi way, because there's a bit of a pride to it in like the sense of like punk rock, and not to say that you can't bring a level of craft to it, like like there's people who really like the kind of like the A24 kind of stuff, like and also people who like stuff that's like much more indie, and it's a very diverse very kind of outsider form that is not mainstream. And so if you're after like big film festivals and awards and stuff like that, it's not really the best genre to play in, but it's a great genre to be able to spend a small amount of money and maybe get that money back. And that's the way you keep making movies. Is ultimately a relatively expensive hobby, and then it becomes a very risky career. But you can, but horror movies are a very good way of kind of threading that needle, where you can sort of mitigate that risk and get more kicks to the can, and make something that is, that you can get resources to do. And if you want a bigger canvas, then you need to figure out something commercially viable. But I would encourage you just to surround yourself with people, and there's a lot of great regional filmmakers, like there's kind of filmmaking collectives and film clubs and film societies and stuff like that, and a lot of people online, and there's there's horror communities like this, and I would I would assume you're probably not even the only aspiring horror filmmaker on this platform right now, and there's a I would encourage you just to find other people who have like-minded interests, and then see what they're doing, and then help them, and then they'll help you when you want to do your thing. And that's the biggest thing I tell people, is kind of surround yourself with other people who create things all the time, and then it'll help you create stuff yourself.
Wow, what great advice! I mean, and how many times have all of you perhaps had seen the opportunities grow with working with people you've worked with before, where opportunities open up, right? And they call you, and you're like, "Hey, guess what? I'm doing this," or there's some connection, right?
I'll be the first to say, especially in Vancouver, like that is how I've gotten every single job. It's just word of mouth, and the people you meet and the friends you make.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't do it on an island, right? That's what you're saying.
No.
Don't do it on an island.
No.
Get out
Oh
there
no,
and-
y'all want to do it on Victoria. That's a
No,
that's a
no.
Vancouver specific joke, sir.
Jess, do you have anything to add to that, or I mean, you think that covers it, or
I mean,
any
I
other
had to move. I had to move from Victoria to Vancouver, so we're right about that. We're
Okay. Awesome. Well, guys, listen, this has been such a treat. I want to thank all of you for being here. This was amazing to watch this a fantastic film that you all did and worked on so hard, and to watch it with you just is hard to put into words. It's a true honor to have been able to watch your work with you, and it was a brilliant film. And I've seen folks along the way talking about how this is now on their annual Christmas must-watch list. And Tyler and I were talking about that backstage earlier, and I think that you're going to be seeing it amongst a majority of people that this is it's a must-watch. It's good to watch any time of the year, but you've got to watch it in the Christmas season, for sure. But anytime is a good time to watch this movie because it's a great slasher. It's a great story. It's great characters. Everything about it is just fantastic. I've enjoyed it since I saw it the very first time. And the minute I watched the film, I said, okay, I've got to go to work and got to get a hold of some folks. I got to meet these folks who put this film together because it's really good. And you're super talented. And I'm so excited for what the new year is going to bring for y'all. And I already know there's stuff in the stuff percolating you can't talk about. And I'll be reaching out to you one-on-one just to say, hey, let me know whenever you can. I'd love to have those conversations in the future.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for everything, man. We appreciate putting this together. It was a lot of fun, and thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you so much for having this. This was a great time, and I'm so lucky to be back. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And Jess, thank you. I know you have got a ton going on, and you're able to squeeze in tonight for the second half of the movie, which is perfect. And
thanks
thank
for
you
having me. Thanks
absolutely.
for letting me come late.
anytime at all. All right, guys. So look, I'll see y'all backstage in just a second. Just hang tight, and we'll say our final goodbye. But for everyone in the live stream, in the chat, thank you all for being here. And for all of you who are watching this on replay tomorrow and the rest of the week, there'll be lots of replay watches. So thank you also. I do want to mention, I can't end the stream without mentioning this. A week from Monday, I will be having the pleasure of meeting another member of this amazing film. Sean Detmer will be joining me.
Oh,
yeah.
Sean Detmer.
Yes, I can't wait.
Shot.
Buck, I mean, I put that one together from one of his ID images. I said, no, I gotta use that.
Riverdale, baby.
Yeah.
That man is 16 years old.
Oh gosh. It's like sometimes if you go to a dating profile, like when you were single or whatever, and you see these pictures, and it's like 20-year-old photo or 10-year-old photo or something. It's like, what? But no.
He really said cheekbone. He really said chisels. Wow.
Yes.
Ah. Oh yeah. So Sean will be here on the 8th at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about, of course, the character of Buck Waters. Of course, we got two versions to talk about: our OnlyFans Buck, and then we got the Sheriff Buck. So this is going to be fun. So I'm so excited to meet him. He wasn't able to make it for tonight, but he can come on the 8th. So be sure you guys. I have that stream already set up. Go like it. Hit the notification button so you don't miss it. All right. Okay, guys. So we'll leave it there. I'll see y'all shortly backstage. But for everyone else, we're going to call it a stream. Thank you all for being here and watching this movie. And listen, do me a favor. Promote the heck out of this movie on your social medias, on all your platforms, your word of mouth to your friends and family. Let's continue to spread the word for It's a Wonderful Knife. And because we want a sequel. And so that's the best way to do it. Just keep on spreading the awareness. All right. Let's do it, guys. I know you can do it. All right. We'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. And I'll see you tomorrow night for our New Year's, ringing in the New Year's right here on the channel. So I hope you guys can make it. All right. But for now, we'll say good night. Good night, guys.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Hey, you have been watching Craving Something Scary. This is Lee Waddell, the original Ghostface, thanking you for stopping by and checking it out.